Well, hello there, you beautiful, beautiful people. I hope you're all well on this fabulous, fabulous Friday. And what else is it today? What else is Friday? Friday is court day. And did Ann Taylor just pull, how can I say, maybe if it was a football term, it would be a goal in the top corner, wouldn't it? Because she's gave the prosecution a piece of their own medicine with some perfect timing in dropping a little bit of a bombshell. And that bombshell is in the shape of Gabriela Vargas. Now, who is Gabriela Vargas? Gabriela Vargas is someone who works within the field of genealogy, and she is an expert to say the least. I've looked her up, and anybody who talks about this lady, they are pretty, they can't sing her praises highly enough. She is someone who, she knows her stuff. And, it's like me. When I say that you guys look amazing, I clearly know my stuff. She is the equivalent in the field of genealogy and DNA and that field. And what is she basically coming forward and saying? Well, she shot a shot over the bow of the prosecution's case, and that is that she seems to be saying that she basically knows that law enforcement obtain their information from places where, yeah, that's right, where they shouldn't. And if I'm brutally honest, I've always thought that from the beginning, and I would imagine that there's a vast majority of people out there right now who aren't surprised by that statement. Now, you could argue that she may be making a statement that is just a general statement about how law enforcement operate when it comes to this area, but I think we've been seeing flashes of indications regarding this ever since the beginning. The fact that they'd spoken that they potentially wouldn't be using the knife sheath. And why is that? Again, we touched on the fruit of the poisonous tree issue with respect of if they could prove that the way in which they found Bryan Kohberger came from an area with which they shouldn't have been looking, then that will feed down. Fruit of the poisonous tree. And I seriously think that is what is going to be a very, very serious risk for the prosecution here. And look, some may say that I've been a supporter of Bryan Kohberger, and there will be people who are a supporter of Bryan Kohberger who will see this as good news for Bryan Kohberger and good news all round. And what I will say to that is, if in the event of Bryan Kohberger being innocent, which again, if you believe in the constitutional rights of the American public, then you should at least give him the benefit of the doubt and consider the fact that he could indeed be innocent. And at the end of the day, if he hasn't got a clear alibi because it was the early hours of the morning, and like many of us, we wouldn't have anybody around us who could back up any form of alibi, and people do the things that Bryan claims to, or the defence seems to claim that he was doing, and that is just driving around. People do it. There are people who don't do it, and the people who don't do it, who probably don't see any value in the people that do it and what that does for them. I get it, I accept it, but it happens. And like I've said, at the end of the day, if Bryan was one of these weird people who just decided to drive around at night, that is the thing that would have potentially put him in this place in the first place. It would have made him a brilliant candidate for trying to peg this on someone in a state that was having pressure placed on them to get a result as quickly as possible and set this to bed. But look, is this a shot over the bow? Yes, 100%. I believe the time novel was absolutely perfect, because this is exactly what Ann Taylor specialises in. She specialises in finding where things have not been done by the book, by the letter, crosses, T's, crosses, I's dotted, and exploiting those errors. And should they be exploited? Yes, because this situation with respect of Bryan Kohberger and his entire case should have been handled right. It should have been handled correctly. There should have been a chain of custody that was easy to follow, and that isn't the case here. There's never been a chain of custody that has been easy to follow. We've always felt that there's just this piece missing, the piece that says this is what put them onto Bryan in the first place. This is how we got here today. And it would seem to me that's why, because they never wanted to give the information as to how they come across him. And it's because they got his information from a method with which they had no right of using. And I fear it's going to come around and bite him in the arse. And that's scary for two reasons. And that is that Bryan Kohberger could, as much as he could be innocent, he could be guilty. And this could be the very thing that sets a guilty man free. But in the event that Bryan Kohberger is indeed innocent, they may have just handed him the keys to the door. Let me know down below what you think. We'll obviously wait and see what happens in this court hearing, and I'll catch you all in the next one.